We're back.
Okay, this is Senate Judiciary, second edition, and we're taking up H 534, and actually the offense of retail theft or petty larceny, I guess, shoplifting, more commonly referred to. So, our real concern is when the value is not in it, is under $900, correct?
Yes, that's right.
So this focuses mainly on that crime, not on the bigger retail theft.
Yes, the misdemeanor, as at least under current law, misdemeanor, exactly.
Yep, okay, so if you want to walk us through the redraft?
Sure. Yes, good morning, everybody.
1.1.
Yep, Eric Fitzpatrick with the Office of Legislative Counsel. Here, as the chair said, talking about H 534, which is an act relating to retail theft. The version that came out from the House, you may remember, created essentially enhanced penalty for situations in which a person commits a retail theft offense at more than one location within a 14-day period. Remember, so that was the approach that the House bill took. At more than one location within the same county within a 14-day period.
In the same county.
Yes, exactly.
So.
Had to be that. And if that were the case, then the penalty would be the same penalty that the felony penalty is right now for retail theft generally. In other words, above $900. So that's a 10-year felony if it's retail theft and the merchandise is in an amount greater than $900. The House proposal said, okay, we're going to make that same 10-year felony penalty apply to if someone commits more than one offense, more than one retail theft offense, below the $900 threshold. See, so it would otherwise be a misdemeanor, right? Because it's below $900. But if they did more than one within 14 days in the same county, then it would bump up to the felony penalty. So that was the proposal that came from the House. In some ways, the idea was aggregation. Remember that, because that was the concept. When can you aggregate the value, add together the value of the merchandise that was stolen in more than one offense? And then the way the approach that the House took was, okay, they'll aggregate when it's done within a 14-day period in a single county. So the proposal that you have in front of you is to strike that approach rather than do an aggregation of value approach to try and address the retail theft problem with misdemeanor amounts of merchandise, below $900, by going with a multiple offense approach instead. So in other words, if someone commits the first offense, you see that's the bottom of page 1, then the current penalty, the current misdemeanor penalty still applies. That's $500, 6 months in prison. But turn over onto page 2 now. For second and multiple offenses, that's when you have this graded penalty system where the penalties get stiffer. So for a second offense, it bumps up from 6 months to 1 year, $1,000. For a third offense, it bumps up to a 3 year, so that becomes the felony. See that? Because above 2 years is a felony. So it's still a misdemeanor first offense, still a misdemeanor second offense, third offense becomes a 3-year felony, and the fourth or subsequent offense then becomes the 10-year felony, the same punishment for a felony for greater than $900 theft. So that's the approach. Takes a different approach. Rather than aggregating value, base it on multiple offenses. Penalties get stiffer as the offense number increases.
Right.
Is there any time limitation if I'm 17 years old and I steal a candy bar, and then I'm 29 years old and I steal some diapers? Is that still a second offense, even though 12 years has passed?
If you assume that for the first offense you were convicted as an adult, then there's no time limitation.
But if I'm 19 years old and I steal a candy bar, and then I'm 29 years old and steal some diapers, that's a second offense.
Again, assuming I'm just sort of saying, assuming
assume a candy bar would get deferred.
Yeah, we like to use the diverted on here.
Yeah, again, that's why I was using the convictions, right? Assuming that didn't get deferred or some other thing, but yes, if there was a conviction, whatever age, adult conviction, even.
There has to be a conviction though. It can't be just
a charge or
a charge that's diverted or there's no charge, it's pre-charge diversion, or it could be, there's a charge, but it's dismissed because you went through diversion.
Right, the
Now,
other
if it were
sentencing alternatives.
sealed and everyone had access to it, would that still qualify as a second offense?
No.
If the conviction, I don't know, it's an interesting question, I'm not sure off the top of my head, it's an interesting,
If it had been, if under the current system, I think it would not count as a second offense.
if it had been expunged.
Because it's not, although setting up this, it might be considered as something, because there's now subsequent, it could change that.
Speaking generally,
When you look at the DUI statute,
yeah,
they are, they're sealed. Because they can become second offense.
right,
So under the current system, if it were expunged, but if it were, as proposed in our last bill, sealed, but everyone actually still had access to it sort of internally, it could be considered a subsequent offense.
I don't know the answer to that for sure, but I,
You'd have to specifically put that in the statute, I think, because we specifically did that with DUI.
Okay.
I like it. It's a little more simplified than the last one we went through there.
In that case, I don't think I like it.
In that case, you don't like
I
it.
was
I'm
gonna
just
say,
kidding.
I was about to say the same thing. I mean, if
That's a
Bob
joke.
likes it, I guess I don't.
We know, Senator of the House, we don't like it.
Just a
but
joke.
like it.
I mean, I think it's
I
better
think
than
it's
what
fine.
came from the House.
Oh,
I don't
goodness,
love it, but I do think it's
Yeah.
better than what came from the House.
Well, do you want to continue to, is there anything else in here that's left?
well, the other change is, you'll see that also struck are sections 3 and 4, and those were the pieces of the House bill that reauthorized the work group program. Now, they're only struck from here. I think, Senator Sears, you indicated you'd rather have those in the miscellaneous corrections bill.
Yeah.
So I let Ben know, and so he's gonna put these in that bill instead.
Yeah, I think it belonged there. If we agree. The problem is, and I think that, with this one is that the corrections department actually may be correct.
Interesting.
Well, their argument is, it's a program with very few participants, and many more people who are assigned to work group are not participating, and then they have to file a court order against them.
Just a note for the work group, I think it might be worthwhile to hear both from essays and defenders of
Yeah.
work group, because it's, it's not breaking rocks on a chain gang or anything like that, but
No.
I've heard a lot of support for it from
I have
both sides of the
too,
court.
but that their corrections argument is, I found somewhat compelling. So, that's it.
Yeah, that's it. It's
Streamlined
pretty
bill.
straightforward. Yep.
Bob Norris likes it. Dick
I gotta
Sears
start
likes
using a
it.
little reverse psychiatry though on Sunday.
Well, I don't know if you want to discuss it any further, or
I mean,
I have a process question. In voting on this, would we vote to accept our amendment and then vote on the bill?
we could do that.
Because I would be supportive of accepting this as better than the House, but probably not supportive of creating subsequent crimes on the whole. If that makes sense.
It does, because the House bill. I was thinking of somebody that lives in Manchester that frequents Rutland and goes up to Rutland and shoplifts, then goes back to Manchester and shoplifts. Because it would be different counties, they wouldn't be aggregated.
Right, that's correct.
Because
Kind of a crazy.
I definitely find this more streamlined and easy to understand, and frankly, probably easier to execute for our state attorneys and our police. I still don't know that it gets to the underlying concern of these sort of like organized theft.
Well, the organized thefts are usually more than $900. That's where we failed to, I think that what I've seen nationwide, they go in and they take the high volume jewelry and things like that, much more valuable than $900. So they're committing a felony offense already. I think there's been a lot of publicity about that, but I don't think that's what the Vermont problem is. It's the $300 television today and the $400 item tomorrow, and that's what I've heard. Anyway, that's what I'm seeing. It's not It's not that jewelry heist, it's a store.
Right, and I think what I was hearing was that there was a nexus here between subsistence, substance use, and someone saying, well, go steal this thing for me, and then you can have, whatever substance it is that you need.
Certainly true of firearms, I would guess. If you don't get to them. So is there any further discussion? If you want to see if Senator Bruce is available? I know this bill was important to him.
I think Sean and Tim are on the House floor, and said they should come down.
Okay, thanks.
Do you have anything to add, Eric?
No, pretty straightforward, as you said. No, there's, not much more from a drafting perspective to add to what we've already discussed.
Am I right in understanding, also there's a typo, page 2, line 5, it says for a fourth, but it's the wrong version of fourth.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yes, I should mention that, as you noted, it has not been proved yet.
But I do have a question about the correct fourth or subsequent offense. Does this effectively mean that that is now a felony?
Yes,
Third and
Third
fourth.
offense.
third would also be a felony. Because 2 years,
So
2 years is the felony threshold.
basic change here is we strike all the work crew language and hold that for the miscellaneous corrections bill. And we change the house construct of if you commit the crime, you aggregate if you commit the petty larceny in the same county within 14 days. And can create
We got
a
rid
system of four, first offense, second offense,
Yeah.
third, fourth. So first and second remain misdemeanors. For a third, it becomes a felony, and the fourth is a bigger felony. So it basically deals with the under 900 differently. And we were discussing that. The issue of mega thefts of like jewelry and stuff like that are all usually over $900, and
Yeah.
so it's already a felony. And Senator Bahowski would like us to vote on the amendment and then vote on the bill.
Yes.
Okay. And the amendment's a strike all.
This is strike all amendment.
Question, is there any precedent in law for subsequent offenses like this being held within a time limit? If that makes sense, so if something like if a fourth and subsequent offense happens within 5 years or 2 years, do you know, so it doesn't actually track forever?
I'm not aware of any off the top of my head. It doesn't mean that it doesn't exist or couldn't be drafted that way, but I'm not coming up off the top of my head with other existing offenses that go with that same scheme. Yeah.
I have concern with it potentially tracking forever.
I don't know, it
Well,
used to be, I know there used to be DUI.
It's not in the strike all, right?
No, so right now, before you got here, I sort of brought up, like, if I steal a candy bar when I'm 19, and then I lose my job when I'm 29 and steal some diapers, like, now that's a second offense.
That's what she's
And
concerned.
so what I'm sort of proposing or considering is there a way to limit the subsequentness to some sort of defined time frame? So, say, if these happen all within 5 years, then that's kind of what I'm,
But I would argue the chances are that minor first offense and even second offense will get diverted, either through pre-charge or diversion. Senator Hutchins?
Yeah, I know this is existing law, but, I'm looking at the first offense. I mean, so I'm looking at the first offense and I'm seeing that we're, creating these harsher subsequent offenses. Do we really need to contemplate jail time for a first offense of retail theft under $900? Is that, I mean,
In the first one.
is that something that you think is necessary for a first offense, the potential for jail time? Or is it ever even invoked in these sentences, or
If
these
you took the
cases?
jail time out and then lose the right to the public defender.
Oh, right.
So
I
you
would
might,
go for that.
you could go to 30 days.
Works for me.
Would that make it palatable for you?
I mean, I would support that change. I still wouldn't, without some sort of limitation on how long these might track with you, it's tough for me to support strengthening to, you know, felonies for minor theft.
I would even contemplate 6 months for the second and subsequent, second offense. So that you would go current law for the second offense, which is 6 months, and 30 days for the first offense.
I'd be good with that.
And then you, if your third offense would jump up to a felony. But I don't think you want to take away their right to a public defender.
No, I, that's a good point, and I agree with that, so. I think that strikes a good balance. I mean, we're creating harsher sentences for subsequent repeated offenses, but reducing the amount of potential jail time for the first
The
offense.
reality is nobody does jail time in the first offense.
Right, I know, but, I mean, things can get weird or different 10 or 20 years down the road, and
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, so with those two changes, somebody want to move the amendment,
I'll move that amendment
1.1.
1.1,
Actually, it'd be
page
1.2, I might guess,
1.2.
2.1.
2.1.
2.1.
Senator Norris has
Favorable.
moved that we amend H534 and seen in draft 2.1. Is there any further discussion? Senator, I'm gonna make you senator before you leave.
Did
here.
say he's running.
I don't know which Senate seat you're gonna take, but you're gonna be a senator, Ben. Ben, would you please call the roll?
Yes,
Second
so
time I've called them
Just
senator.
clarifying, this is just for the amendment, not.
This is just for the amendment, not the bill.
And also clarifying, it's 30 days for the first offense, 6 months for the second offense.
Yes,
Okay,
and it's up
Up to.
third and
Up
fourth
to.
day.
right up to you.
Yep, so for amendments that are being amended, I don't really have to do a record of action, I'll still call it. So
Yeah,
it's on the record, so, Senator Bruce.
Yes.
Senator Norris,
Yes.
Senator Walsky,
Yes.
Senator Shin.
Yes.
And Senator Sears,
Yes,
and then for the bills, so.
well, somebody needs to make a
Yes.
motion to report the bill. Senator Baruth has moved that we report the bill favorably as amended.
I'm not a senator yet, so I can't make that motion, but. All right,
Before you
so,
leave here, you could be.
And we could
We
do-
have an opening.
I was gonna say, we could do a hell of a lot worse.
all right, so Senator Bruce.
Yes.
Senator Norris,
Yes.
Senator Walsky,
No,
Senator Shin.
Yes.
And Senator Sears.
Yes,
410.
wonder if Senator Baruch would like to report this.
Sure.
I've done all the work on detailed stuff with his constituents for several years.
I will report, yes.
Thank you.